Hey everyone, this is Mark J from the Trade Pro chat room. I noticed a lot of people were having the same issue with Market Delta and its usability slash user friendliness. Once I figured out where things were, it made a lot more sense. Um, so I'm going to do a quick tutorial for you guys on how I figured out sort of how to replicate George's setup. Um, once you import the pack files, it's extremely confusing. So what I did was I started fresh. I watched a bunch of the videos on Market Delta and messed around with the interface and kind of learned it myself, and it's helped a lot, being able to figure out how to add studies, how to modify different pieces. And so I wanted to give you guys a quick how to, maybe 10 minutes or so, um, sort of where to find things really quick. So the first thing I found was if you click on page up here, if you're starting fresh, there's actually sample pages. And so I started out and found footprint here, and I went to the MD default startup. And it actually has some of the footprints. It's got a quote board here. It's got the DOM. It's got an imbalance footprint already set up for you. It's a simple interface, which is good. It's a good starting point. Now, this is a tutorial page. I found out if you make changes to here, you can't actually save to it. I believe it errors out. I had an issue with that. But what you can do is if you want to take this as your starting point, if you click save here, and it'll say save page, the number from what I've been able to tell doesn't matter. You can give it a title, like I gave mine up here, Mark's demo. And if you don't want to put it in a group, which will show up under that page category, you can actually delete this and leave it blank and hit save. So now what you'll see, if you come over to page, you'll see Mark's demo right here. I believe my Mark's imbalance is under all markets. I don't even know where my page is saved. I think I accidentally saved it into one of these. So yeah, now we have a page down here that you can mess around with, do whatever you like. What I've found is this coloring right here with the dark background. If you start a fresh page, which I'll show you guys that in a minute, it's not actually going to keep some of this coloring from these imbalanced footprints. So I'll show you how to replicate that. Or you can start this page and it's going to keep these settings when you want to start fresh. So you could close all these windows out here and start brand new. So we'll go ahead and do that real quick. Let's close everything out. Now we've got our own page. It's our page. Yes, yes, yes. So now we've got a blank canvas. To get a chart going that you want, don't do a left click, do a right click. And that lets you pick which chart you're going to want to actually load. So let's say we want to do the footprint. Now if you look here, it's got different colors. It's got white background. This is it did start with an imbalanced footprint by default, which is nice. If you click here on the study or somewhere within the bars, it's going to say modify footprint. It's already set to an imbalance, but if you start fresh, you're not going to have that. It's actually going to be set to delta. This is where you select which kind of chart you want within each, or the style within
Market
the
data
types of
connection
chart.
lost.
So you'll get the delta chart
Market
usually by
data
default.
connection re-established.
Sorry, that's my interactive brokers in the background there. So you'll start with this. If you want to get it to imbalance, you actually have to come here and select imbalance and hit apply. Now you're going to get the imbalance. This is where you can set the percentages for the highlighting here. So let's see, let's do 500, which I think is George's setup. So that's going to set the imbalance to 500. The other confusing part is these little arrows are actually how you go edit pieces of the parameters. So the display here, some of these don't even show up, but you can change what you want the ask colors to be. If you want it to be a darker green, you can modify that. under the source here is where you can set what kind of setting it is. Right now it's set to a 5-minute bar chart. What we want to do to get to George's setup is you would go to a range, 5 tick. So this is when he says a 5 tick or a 4 tick or an 8 tick chart. This is where you set it under range. So now you'll see we have the same title that he normally has, a 5 tick imbalance footprint chart. But it's got the different colors, right? It's got the white background. It's kind of hard to read. To change that, if you come over and let this pop out, setup, chart colors. So here's where you can change everything. Again, it's kind of an ugly color. So if you want to start over, hit cancel, close that. Let's go. Oh, I just saved it. Didn't mean to do that. That's all right. We'll go back to footprints here, the default setup, save. We call it Mark's demo. Again, that should overwrite the page. Or I'll create a new one because I put it in apostrophe. So if we go back here, I had saved it, so it's a blank page. If you want to kind of keep this set up, you can come back over to charts, chart colors, and you can actually say all charts on this page, I want to have this color scheme. Or you can, like I said, start from this page and create new charts if you want. So you'd come here, add chart, footprint, and then you can go back here, chart colors. We actually have to click back on this, set up chart colors. All charts on this page. Now you've got the color set up. Now if you look here, when we created this, it didn't take the tick setup. It took the default 5-minute footprint here instead of a range bar of ticks. So the RB stands for range bar. The information up here tells you what kind of chart it is, and that's how you can try to replicate the different pieces that you've got from the different pages. So if you want to create a fresh page, you right-click page over here and hit new page. We don't want to save that. Now you have a blank canvas. Let's go to add chart, footprint, and you're going to see again it started with the white background and a 5-minute imbalance footprint. If you want to do a bar chart or candlestick like you see, it's got this here. If you right click chart interval, that's where you can set time if it's on a time, so 15 minutes. So now we've got a 15-minute ES candlestick chart. It's kind of hard to read. So if you do modify candle, you can set your up and down. You can actually zoom down here. If you like it to be a little bit more zoomed, you click down at the bottom and you drag. So now we've got our dates down here, 8:30, 8:29, so about a day back. If you drag it here, you can move it back and forth. So yeah, if you want to change the time here, you can do that. If you want to add a study, so if you like the VWAP, this is where you add all of your studies. If you want to add it as an overlay, we now have the VWAP on here. If you right click and choose modify VWAP, that's where you can modify different pieces. Display normally is where you can change the color. If you want the weight to be a little bit bigger as far as the line, let's say you want it to be weight 1 or weight 2. That's going to make it thicker. If you want to get the chart like George has, where it's got the line charts with the overlays, what you do is you'll do a chart, add chart, a line chart. So he's got a line chart here. What you then do, it's called an overlay chart, and it's actually a study, which is a little bit confusing. If you type overlay analog chart, add as overlay, and it'll, if you have this button checked, it's going to show up over here, and you can just click this button going forward if you want to add a new one. So I would add, let's add the Russell here. You'll now see I've got both bars. If you want to change the color, you're going to right click, modify line 2, which is what this is, and you can set your color. I don't like that purple. Let's go with red. And there you go. So you can add all your different charts here. You can do gold, you can do your commodities. You can start adding these on your page once you're done. Like I said, if you want to change the background, you can do chart colors here and change these to all be dark. So you could actually take a screenshot of the existing imbalance footprint chart on that other page and replicate that, or you can say, hey, all new charts, I want it to be like that imbalance page. Okay, so you could do that. If we come back, save this. This is our Mark's demo. I clicked save to save it. I click page with the left click. Let's go back to the default startup. I've already made changes it's asking, but we'll go ahead and save that. Let's say I want everything to be back like this one. Let's go ahead and change all charts on all pages. Have this background. Okay. All right, so now if we go back to Mark's demo, okay, we're going to use the global settings. We're not going to save this page. Now all my charts have this color. But I created a new chart. It's not going to keep those settings unless you check that box. So I come back to my page here. We're going to disable the global settings. I don't want to save that. My page is still the same because it hasn't changed it. So my chart down here still has a white background because I created this one by default. So essentially, if you need to modify colors, you can say, I added some studies to here, modify all parameters. It's going to show you I have VWAP on here. I have a volume profile, which is what George has on the side normally. You can set it for current day, 5 days back, and you modify that based on the source or display. So like the volume profile over here, if I want to modify that, I come to display. I can change the colors, set different settings in here. If I want to modify it directly, I click here, modify VP. And this is where you can set start time. So you'll see here, I have it set to the current day for VP1. VP2, start time. I have it for 5 days back. So they're two different studies on the same chart. You can add the tabs. Every time you add a tab, it'll take whatever your last tab was on as the default. You can close tabs. You can replicate charts. You can rename it if you want it to have a different name. Now for the DOM trader, that is under okay, I'm drawing a blank on where that is. Order ticket, I believe. If I click that, nope. Trade, sorry, it's under trade. Add trade, and there's different types of trading windows you can use. We're using the DOM trader. You see if I pop it up, I'm going to see the same thing. There's lots of different settings you can set in here, and to change that, you come to setup, trading preferences, and it's still pretty confusing in here. I don't know all of this yet. I haven't learned that yet. But under display, You can say what buttons you want down here at the bottom. Do you want it to notify you? What default settings are for stops. You actually have to enable. If you start from default like I did, you actually have to go and enable some of these different orders here. So if you want to do a trailing stop, I had to come here and actually check this box in order to enable that option. One cancels the other. I believe I had to actually set that as well. So yeah, if you start fresh, you're going to have to go in here and set some of these settings for what you want to make sure you see. You'll just have to poke around. Hey, cool, I'm green. It's great. I was down 500 today, and now I'm up 62. Right now, I'm using a trailing stop. You'll see it's been moving up along with this. Hopefully, we'll keep getting some strength here. Okay, that about covers the setup. If you come to support here, I know Susan or somebody had mentioned this before. You can do an auto backup and say, "Hey, backup every day," and it's going to have an archive setting here for you. So if you screw something up and you want to go back to the day before, if you set the auto backup here, or if you just want to back it up when you first log in, you can do daily backups. It's doing 5 copies today. It's doing a weekly, and it's storing that many. And you can say where you want to save it to, and it'll put it into a zip file. So yeah, you can go look. This is one thing I don't like, right? I can't expand this window out, so I have to scroll over. Okay, this was from, let's see, it's the weekly, daily. Okay, let's sort by date. That doesn't even work right. So, but if I want to go back to August 18th, I can do that. CQG and Market Delta support can actually tell you how to reset this to the default if you've imported the pack file and can't get back. There's a way to do it. I don't remember how to do it off the top of my head, but you can. So that's how I started fresh without his pack file. So yeah, if you want to start a new page, you hit new page, and you've got your blank canvas to tinker around with. The other thing that I've set is under, I think, system preferences here. You can say don't save when you switch. Don't automatically save. And I cannot recall where that is. I'm sure CQG help can help you with that, but I prefer to have it set to prompt me on when to save in case I messed around with a bunch of stuff and I don't want it to save. I'll set that. I think it's under this page. I just can't remember where it is, but I'm trying to keep this video short. So, so yeah, that's kind of how you get started. This is my little
Market
page.
data connection lost.
And that's it. Good luck.